My name is Joshua Price. I was born here in Arkansas. My mom is from the Philippine Islands. She was brought over to this country because she was a registered nurse, and at the time there was a shortage of registered nurses here in Arkansas. And my dad is from rural Pike County, Arkansas, D-Light. That's how we say it down there, with 3 E's and light at the end, so D-Light. And really interesting how they met. My grandmother, my dad's mom, was actually the first female justice of the peace of Pike County. Yep, and she had had a mild heart attack and was in the hospital. My mom was her nurse. So my dad came up to the visitor one time and she said, whoa, Alan, I've got to introduce you to my nurse. She's the cutest little Asian girl you're ever gonna see. So she set them up, and fast forward 5 years and there I was. So really interesting story, but yeah, I was born and raised in Arkansas, lived in Portland, Oregon for a little while when I was younger, went to college here in Arkansas, and been building my career ever since. So hobbies, I love to write. So I've got a monthly blog for Inviting Arkansas, and then I've got my own blog and website, The Hybrid Gent, and my Instagram as well, where I'm a ambassador for several men's accessory companies. And I also like archery, little known fact, I like archery, and I've got a recurve bow. I don't like with all the sights and the gadgets, I like to do it old school. And little known fact, anyone who follows me on Facebook would know this, but I've been out of it for a while, but I'm actually a black belt in Taekwondo, and in 2013 and 2014, I was state champion for my bracket. So, yeah, watch out. I would say I started my PR career back in 2011. So I was working for the American Taekwondo Association at that time. I was a student, and then there was a position, I was a student at that school taking Taekwondo classes, and a position opened up that they needed a marketing director for that school. So I was encouraged to apply for it, and I took it on. So I ended up being head of all the marketing efforts for that school in Maumelle. Well, with that first stint in marketing and public relations, I really liked just meeting people. I liked talking to people. I liked getting people engaged. And I really found I had a knack for social media as well, and just putting things out there. I just love social media. I went to school for sociology. So social media to me was just another modern aspect of that. It was a way for people to connect. And what I thought was interesting is that social media is not hampered by demographics or topography or distance. You could be talking with someone from California or China or Paris or anywhere. So I just thought it was cool that you could talk to this community of people online, and you could reach people that normally you wouldn't be able to engage with on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you didn't see them walking around town. So marketing via social media and digital communications, it always really fascinated me. So moving forward, after working with the American Taekwondo Association, I worked for a marketing and PR firm here in Little Rock, the Communications Group. I worked there for several years, and then now I work for the Delta Regional Authority, and I head up all their digital communications and social media. So that's 8 states, 10 million people, 252 counties. So it's been a great ride. Well, the great thing about working for the Delta Regional Authority is the people in the Delta that you get to meet. I've had the opportunity to travel all through the region, rural Arkansas, rural Mississippi, rural Louisiana, Alabama, and just meet people that come from all different walks of life, and they're so friendly, and being able to let them know what kind of opportunities exist through the Delta Regional Authority, the grants, things that they could revitalize their downtown or build new roads or buy medical equipment for the rural hospital. Meeting these people, it's been really a great opportunity. It makes me feel fulfilled at the end of the day, knowing that I'm out in the field doing good work and helping to change people's lives for the better. Okay, this is a little different, but my business role model is Elon Musk, who developed Tesla. So the thing is with him, he's not afraid to take risks. He's not afraid to think outside the box. He's got all these crazy ideas, but that's what we need. We need people who are willing to think outside the box, step up. He's wanting to build this giant battery now in Australia that's just gonna power the whole grid. And that's amazing. We need people like that are forward thinking, that are willing to put their money where their mouth is, that are willing to make that investment that maybe they're not going to see a return in a year or 2 years. Maybe it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road, but they're forward thinkers and they're thinking about the future. I think that a lot of times, being a minority myself, it was my own self-confidence issues, not wanting to put myself out there. I mean, I grew up in rural Southwest Arkansas, and I'm biracial, so you're not really seeing any biracial Asians running around Pike County. So just kind of knowing that I didn't look like everybody else, that I came from a different background, I don't want to say I put a chip on my shoulder, but it made me less confident to put myself out there and be the center of attention, because I already felt like I was the center of attention and not in a positive way. But growing up, I had just to realize that, hey, people are going to look at you no matter what. You look different. People are going to look at you, so you give them a good reason to look. Give them a reason to stop and stare. So I think that one of the main issues with including diversity in public relations is just those diverse populations, that minority group, knowing that, hey, you're worthy of being there. You're worthy of being there. And if you can open that door and you can be on television or be in the public eye and other people see you there, they're gonna know that, hey, this is someone that looks like me. If they can do it, I can do it. So you're opening that door for future generations. I think that they just really need to hire more diverse candidates. And I know that can be difficult sometimes, but I'm all about inclusion. I'm all about diversity. Like I said, you have a diverse population here in Arkansas. Everybody needs to see someone that looks like them represented in that industry. They do. My sister is a surgeon, and when she first decided that she wanted to be a surgeon, her attending physician told her women don't belong in surgery, women belong in pediatrics and dermatology and OBGYN. And she thought, what is this? We need to have women surgeons. We need to have all kinds of different people as surgeons. We need to have all kinds of different people as lawyers. We need to have everybody represented in PR as well. In all aspects of all different industries, we need to have people represented. And what's funny is, moving forward, now that my sister is a surgeon, come to find out, since she has very small hands, she's better at the very intricate surgeries where she could put together capillaries and things like that. So she can't do the surgeries where they're bending people's bones and all that, but when they need something really fine and detailed, they call her in. So that just shows that there's a space for you, for everybody. It doesn't matter where you come from. Your skills, your talents, your abilities are all valued, and there is a place for you in every industry. So I think just embracing diversity in the PR industry, bringing people in, it's going to attract demographics that maybe they haven't attracted before. And I think that everyone deserves a seat at the table. I really think that, I'm gonna get on a soapbox, but I think that God made us all different because He wanted to encourage us to work together. Not everyone has the answer. If you have people at a table all trying to solve a problem and it's all the same kind of people, they're all gonna think the same way. Maybe you need a woman at that table. Maybe you need someone who's African American at the table. Maybe you need someone who's Hispanic or Asian. Maybe they have an answer that you haven't thought of. Maybe they have an idea that can combine with someone else's idea and bounce off of each other, and then now you've got the solution. But unless you embrace those different types of people, you're not gonna get access to those ideas and those different ways of thinking. So I think that it's just really important to have diversity in the field of PR, because I think it can really not only boost the industry, but help solve a lot of the problems in the industry as well. So one of the challenges, I think, of diversity is just overcoming stereotypes. My mom is a nurse, and I remember she told me one time that she had made an announcement over the intercom at the hospital, and then she had a supervisor tell her, you don't need to be on the intercom anymore because you have an accent. Well, what's wrong with having an accent? She paged the doctor showed up. What's the problem? So I think overcoming these stereotypes, I know that every minority group has their own set of stereotypes they have to deal with. Just personally, growing up Asian, people would come up to me and kind of offer me those backhanded compliments like, hey, your English is really good. How old were you when you learned English? And I'd say, well, I learned English at the same time you did, whatever that age was, 1, 2, 3. So just always having to kind of justify yourself that I really am an American citizen. I was born in Nashville, Arkansas. I'm not any different than you are. I grew up eating the same types of foods, watching the same type of television shows, playing the same types of games, just really overcoming those stereotypes and letting people know that, hey, just because we have a different skin color or our nose is shaped a little differently, our eyes are shaped a little bit differently, we're all human. We're all in this together. So we all need to be celebrated. I think that for the industry to promote and improve diversity, they need to really reach out to those populations. We don't have enough people of color getting engaged in the field of PR. And like I said, I don't know if that's an issue with their own confidence or being afraid to try to battle those stereotypes, but the only way you could really fight these stereotypes is just do it. You just have to do it. You just have to put yourself out there, for better or for worse. So I think that reaching out to these groups, letting them know that, hey, this is a field that you can be involved in, that you could bring a lot to the table, that you could bring your special skills and your outlook and the way you were raised. This is something that you can pursue and be successful. Just having more people that look differently in the field, I think that's the best thing for everybody. So what changes I think that the industry should make regarding diversity and inclusion? I think there should be more public outreach. I think there should be engagement at the schools. You know, we're talking from junior high, high school, the college level, just letting people from diverse backgrounds know that this is a field that you can get involved in. This is a field that is a growing field. I read an article the other day talking about what jobs moving forward are going to be automated and which ones are going to be more viable, and PR and communications was one of the ones that's going to continue to become more viable. You can't teach a robot, to write. You can't teach a robot to speak in front of camera. So I think that moving forward, this is a very good field for young people to get involved in, especially young people these days. They already have that social media savvy and know-how. They already know how to use the internet. They know how to build websites. I mean, they're like come out of the womb building websites these days. So I think taking that skill set and applying it to the PR industry, I think that's going to move the PR industry forward. So having these outreach at schools, at job fairs, bringing them in for these, I know they have these PRSA student days. They came into the firm I worked in previously and they did a tour, just letting them know that this is a field that you can get involved in. So reaching out to them, being present at the schools and the colleges, letting them know that this is a viable field moving forward. And it's a great field because you can work from anywhere. You really can. It's not localized. It can translate to anywhere. I can do my job from home just as well as I can do it from the office. So that's something that's very attractive to young people. I think that the industry's been a little bit more reactive rather than proactive when it comes to creating a diverse environment. I don't think the industry's close to it. Like I said, more reactive. I've never had a problem getting involved in the industry. In fact, I felt very welcomed by it, but I would just like to see more outreach, more of a proactive approach, reaching out to those schools, getting these kids in a little bit younger, letting them know that this is a career path that is a great option for them. So I think that the industry, the PR industry, needs to be more proactive in its approach to reaching out to minority populations to have more diversity in the industry. I'm going to give you two experiences that I had. One, I won't tell you where I was, but I was in a rural town in Arkansas, and I was staffing my boss, and we had a speaking engagement, and there were media there, and somebody approached me, and they said that they had never met an Asian before, and they were a little bit cautious and a little bit wary, but we had a conversation. I introduced myself, I told them a little bit about where I came from, and after a 5 to 10 minute conversation, I left with a friend. That's how I feel, and I feel like that's how they felt as well. So it's just really opening those lines of communication and letting them know, just because I looked a little bit differently than you, it doesn't mean that we're that different. We have more things in common than we do differently. The second example I want to use is, and this is really one of the highlights of my career, I feel, is with the Delta Regional Authority. I had the opportunity to speak at the White House in the EEOB, the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. There was an event held by at the time, the USDA Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, and it was about minority issues affecting rural American communities. And my boss, Chris Massengill, was not able to attend that event due to a prior engagement, so he said, Josh, you're Asian, you need to be at this event. You need to be the one to go. So that's something that, because of my ethnicity, because of my minority status and my diversity, I became something that was a strength for them to send me in his place and represent my agency. And originally I was just supposed to attend the panel, but then when they saw that I was Asian, they said, well, we actually have a breakout session that we're looking for someone to lead. Would you be willing to lead this breakout session? I said, absolutely. So I got there, my name was on the agenda, and I framed it. It's in my office right now. So the reason I use this example is just to illustrate that you have to just put yourself out there, because you never know. You know, you might see being a minority as something that's a negative, but other people see it as a strength. So it just takes that one person to say, hey, we need you. So just keep putting yourself out there and be proud of where you come from. Be proud of your diversity. I always tell people, hey, I'm proud that my mom's from the Philippines, and I'm also proud to be from Southwest Arkansas, because that's what makes me me. So as an Asian American growing up in Arkansas, I think it's really important to reach out to the Asian American population. There's actually 36,000 Asian Americans here in the state of Arkansas. We've got the largest Marshallese population outside of the Marshall Islands, Northwest Arkansas. We've got a huge Filipino American population. We've got a Indian American population, mostly doctors and others in the medical field. So it's really important to reach out to these groups, because they may be immigrants, but their children were born here, and their children are going to want to be involved in different careers and look for different career paths different from what their parents were doing. And I think that PR and marketing and communications could be a great avenue for them. So as far as the Asian American population here in Arkansas, there's actually an Arkansas Philippine Association that's been around for 34 years. And they had their annual gala last month, and I was very blessed to be the keynote speaker there. And they raised over $8,000 for medical missions to go back to the Philippines. So these are people that are involved in the community, they're active, they maybe kind of coast under the radar a little bit, but they're there and they're willing to get engaged. So I think it's very important for the community to reach out to them, for public relations to reach out to them, because this is fresh talent, this could be new leaders. A lot of times as a minority, you feel like you don't have a lot of opportunities. You don't have access to the same opportunities as other people. But what word of advice I would give is that if you don't feel like you have that opportunity, you need to create that opportunity. You need to create it. When I first started blogging, when I started my Hypergent fashion blog back in summer of 2015, I did some research first. I asked around. There was no men's fashion blog in town. There was none. And people told me it's not viable. We've had people try it for a month or two. It didn't pan out. And I said, you know what, what's the harm? So I put myself out there. I contacted 2 different magazines, and I started blogging for both, for Inviting Arkansas and AY Magazine. I no longer blog for AY. We did it together for about a year until they had some changes within their own company. And then the blog didn't continue, but I still blog for Inviting Arkansas. So, 2 years out, it's still going strong. So it really just takes somebody to have that vision and to not be afraid to put themselves out there. What's the worst that can happen? You try and you fail, but at least you tried.